Here's a question that almost everyone who reads Romans 5 eventually asks. Why am I held responsible for something that Adam did? I was not there. I did not make that choice. I didn't take that fruit. So why does Paul say that through one man, sin entered the world and death through sin, and death spread to all men? Right? What kind of justice is that? It is a fair question, and the doctrine of federal headship is the reformed answer to it. It is also one of the most important doctrine for understanding both why you need salvation and how salvation actually works. Because the same structure that explains why Adam's sin affect you is the exact same structure that explains how Christ's obedience saves you. Now, these two things cannot be separated. You have to understand one in order to understand the other. So, federal headship. Federal headship is a teaching that Adam stood before God not merely as a private individual, but rather as a federal head, right? A covenant representative of all humanity. Now, when God made a covenant of work with Adam in Genesis 2, he was dealing with Adam as the head of the human race. Now, Adam's obedience or disobedience would have consequences not just for himself, but for everyone who were in him. Now think about this way. When a nation declares war, right, every citizen of that nation is at war. Not because every individual citizen decided to be on board with the war, but rather because the representative who had the legitimate authority on their behalf made that decision. Now the consequences flow from the representative to the represented. Now that is the structure of federal headship. Adam was our representative. His choice was, in the covenant structure God established, our choice, and the consequences flowed accordingly. Therefore, just as through one man sin entered the world, and death through sin, and thus death spread to all men because all sin. Now, Romans 5:12 says that through one man sin entered, death spread to all. Now, Paul is not saying that death spread because everyone personally imitated Adam's sin. Now, he is saying that death spread because all sin in Adam. Now, the representative act was imputed, right? It was legally credited, right, to all whom he represented. And that is the structure. Now, here's the thing. If you have ever looked at the human condition and asked, why is everything so broken? Now, federal headship is the answer. Now, that brokenness is not an accident, right? It is not just the accumulated effect of a whole lot of bad individual choices. It flows from a single root event in which the representative of the human race chose autonomy over obedience. For as in Adam all died, even so in Christ all shall be made alive. That was 1 Corinthians 15:22. In Adam all died, in Christ all shall be made alive. Right? And that's the key. Paul draws the parallel deliberately and precisely. The same structure that explains the problem, federal headship, is the same structure that explains the solution. Christ is the second Adam. He stands before God not merely as a private individual, but as the federal head of a new humanity. All those who are united in him by faith. His perfect obedience is credited to them. His death, it bears their penalty. His resurrection, is the first fruit of their resurrection. Now, the reason this doctrine matters so profoundly is that it shows you that salvation is not just God overlooking your sin one by one. It is a complete change of federal standing. In Adam, condemned, and now in Christ, justified. Not because of anything you did or did not do, but because of who represents you and what that representative accomplished. For as by one man's disobedience many were made sinners, so also by one man's obedience many will be made righteous. Now, that is the gospel expressed in the most precise covenantal term. And the righteousness of Christ, right, his perfect, lifelong, law-fulfilling obedience is credited to the account of every person who is in him. That is not a legal fiction. It is a covenantal reality, right? The representative's record becomes the represented person's standing. Now, I really hope that makes sense to you. If it didn't, go back and watch the video. Our next video is going to go deeper into this exact concept as to who the second Adam is. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and click that notification bell so when we drop that video, you'll be the first to watch it. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.